All right, so before I start, I'm going to try and pull this up so it's all complete and nice. All right, so my case study that I focused on for this project was one of the students I did my tutoring with. Her name is Keegan. She's 4 years old, and it was through the Waukesha School District as part of their ESY program. So Keegan's 4. She has a profound bilateral hearing loss. She received her hearing aids at 9 months old and a cochlear implant on her left side in April of 2016, which was activated a month after surgery. And then she received an implant on her right ear in August of 2016, and that was also activated a month after surgery. The main objectives that I focused on for our ESY sessions were the following goals with phonemic awareness, phonics, phonological skills, vocabulary, fluency, some comprehension, and print concepts as well. So phonemic awareness, I initially wrote that the student will be able to name all upper and lowercase letters with 80% accuracy, 4 out of 5 trials. With phonics and phonological skills, I said that when presented with single-syllable words, the student will identify the initial sounds with 80% accuracy in 4 out of 5 trials. With vocabulary, when she's given a list of vocabulary words, the student will read the words correctly with 90% accuracy in 4 out of 5 trials. Fluency, given 10 vocabulary words, the student will repeat the words using slow, easy speech with 100% accuracy in 4 out of 5 trials. Comprehension, when asked by the teacher, the student will follow various 2- and 3-step oral directions with 90% accuracy in 4 out of 5 trials. When reading the story, the student will answer at least 3 simple WH questions about the text. And print concepts, which was the main objective that we focused on, the main learning target that we focused on, was that the student will be able to identify the front and back of a book as well as the direction in which we read the words on a page or a book. So like I said, Keegan is 4 years old, and our main focus was to work on concepts of print. And so this was the main assessment that I used several times throughout working with her. So I used the rubrics through Marie Clay, and then a concept of Print's checklist, which was also adapted from Marie Clay. After the first test that I completed with her, so like my pre-test, which I completed the first day of tutoring with her, on the first day of tutoring with her, I was able to see that she knew where a story began when you open the book. She could identify the difference between pictures and words. She could show me where to start reading and where to read after the first word. And she could also show one letter and one word by pointing. The concepts that she did not know or understand at this point was where the front and the back cover of the book was. She wasn't able what the cover was, or which one was the front or which one was the back, where to read after finishing a page, and identifying the last letter in a word or the last word on a page, and punctuation. The only punctuation I think on the assessment I used that it asked for was a period, and she had no idea what a period was. On the second time I did the print assessment, these were the concepts that she knew and understood, and these were the ones that she did not understand. So she did understand, and she could identify the front or back of a book, the text, where to begin reading, direction to read, and the first word on the page. She could point to the first and last letter in a word and individual letters on a page and say the names of them. And when asked to point to a small letter, she was able to point to a lowercase letter. With concepts that she did not know or understand, she could not identify the title of the book, where to go at the end of reading a line of text. She couldn't identify the last word on a page, pointing to 1 or 2 words or 1 or 2 letters. She could only do one. She didn't understand or didn't know the concept of what a capital letter was, a period, a question mark, exclamation mark, quotation marks, or comma, so more punctuation. And then by the third assessment that I did with her on the last day of tutoring, she did understand all of those things that I've mentioned previously, but she was also able to point to one word or one individual letter by the time that we finished. And then by then, the concepts that she didn't know or didn't understand was the last word on a page, or pointing to the last word on a page, and also pointing to 2 words or 2 letters. Like I said, she could do one individual letter, one individual word, but when asked to do 2, that was something that she did not grasp. And then again, she also, by the end of our tutoring, didn't know or understand any punctuation, which is understandable because I did not focus on a lot of punctuation with her. I also completed the CAFE assessment with her in the way beginning of tutoring. And you could see that she was able to produce a lot of different words that had to do with summer, which was the question that I asked her. I said to ask her to tell me words that she knew that were related to summer that reminded her of summer. And I did provide her with a few prompting questions, like what do you do in the summer? What do you wear in the summer? Where do you go in the summer? And this was a list of words that she produced, and I ended up dictating them for her. Another assessment that we worked on together that I conducted with her was an alphabet recognition assessment, and I completed this with her the first session, the fourth session, and the eighth session. And you can see that there is a little bit of growth between the first, second, and third sessions, and she continues to go up. And it was the same letters every time that she struggled with. And then, each week she was able to learn one or two more and was able to identify and recognize them. So after completing these assessments with her, I thought that a next step lesson would be to specifically work on the letters N and M by providing her words and pictures of different nouns that begin with N and M to show the difference of the sounds, to also push and practice visual phonics more to distinguish the difference between the N and M sound and how they feel and how they sound and what they pair with. And I also thought about incorporating more word sorts, letter sorts, or picture sorts that have to do with N and M words. The next steps that I have following the concept of PRINCE assessments that I administered with her were some of the following activities, and these were a lot of what I worked on with her following the first session that we had, or the first assessment that I did with her, which was echo reading, active read alouds, picture and book walks, Elkonin sound boxes, tracing words and letters, manipulating clay to form letters and spell names or short words, and then providing her with a lot of authentic vocabulary learning experiences with art projects, physical objects, videos, images, etc., etc., etc. So like I said, a lot of these are some of the activities that we worked on that I incorporated into our sessions every time we met, following that first session together. So one of the things that I also wanted to include in terms of like next steps for her was the whole Foundations of Literacy program from CLAD, which is, one of the things we talked about a couple weeks ago. But so one of the things that I worked on with Keegan this summer was the use of sound boxes and blending phonemes with her to create CVC words. And after learning about this program, I thought how amazing and how beneficial it would be for Keegan with the sound cards and the assigned phonemes and the stories, the sound boxes using those sound cards, and the idea of giving her a complete authentic learning or language experience that she would be able to contextualize and then kind of take a step back and be able to, apply what she's learned when she's out of context. I loved the idea of all the visuals that were also incorporated in this program, and the crowd questions used throughout guided reading I think would be really beneficial for her because they kind of hit on all these different kinds of questions and make it more personal on a different level for her. So I think that in general, the Foundations for Literacy program has a lot of great stuff, great materials, and I would love to see that being something used with Keegan in this upcoming school year. I'm not one of her actual teachers, but I would definitely support and push this whole program and this curriculum. So the next part that I have on my presentation is just learning targets and some of the activities, a little bit of a glance of what we worked on and how we worked on them. So you can see in one of these pictures I have, there are 3-letter puzzles, CVC words, or not even CVC words, but just 3-letter words. Sky, ant, sun, bee. These were 4 of the puzzles that we used on a pretty consistent basis because I thought they had something to do with summer, and that's what the overall focus was through her teachers that they wanted me to work on, was all summer activities and summer themes and things like that. So we worked on these puzzles, and this was also something we practiced with blending some of the sounds. And then the other picture I have says they have a left foot and a right foot. And this was actually one of the sentences that she came up with a little bit of support that I cut up for one of our lessons using the tutoring model from class this year. So I wrote a little bit about what our daily routine was. For each session, we started every morning with our hello song, which was great because it got her moving and she had to follow the directions of the video. Some of these were just talking about clapping hands, stopping your feet, stretching, turning around and touching your toes. She loved doing that. She always had a lot of fun with it, loved getting to dance and sing at the same time. We always then started with tracing her name or writing her name in some way, shape, or form. And then we would work on some of the motor activities that her teachers also wanted her to be working on throughout the summer. So I made sure to incorporate these motor activities, but also connected them to a summer theme or had some connection to reading in one way or another. And then after doing some motor activities, we would do some sort of number counting activity and then end our session with a story where we would echo read or answer WH questions based on the story we read. All of our stories had to do with a summer theme or the summer theme. And then I had her and she wanted to echo read and participate in active read alouds, which were great because then it provided me the opportunity to teach her about the different concepts of print, while we could also be working on vocabulary words and blending using our Elkonin sound boxes, which was also part of most of my lessons. The next couple of slides are just all of the learning targets that we worked on, and also has a list of the activities and some of the things we did to work on or meet those learning targets and those objectives for the summer. So you can see tracing spelling name, blending CV and CVC words, following two-step directions and worked on auditory memory, discriminating with sorts, understanding concepts of in, on, under, between, or in front of, identifying, naming letters in the alphabet, and then reading a story and answering simple WH questions about the book. So I have a list of the books we read and some of the questions that she was able to answer by the end of our stories. And it was important to note that I wrote that after a story, she was able to dictate a sentence or retell the story that I wrote on a sentence strip and cut up. And after cutting it up, she worked very hard to put the sentence back together with little assistance, sounding out and repeating the individual words. So it did take a little bit of time and a lot of effort and patience. But by the end of those 5 minutes of working on that cut up sentence, she was able to follow or read along with me the entire sentence. And it was great to see how proud she was and how excited she was because she realized that she was reading. And then the last couple of things that I have are some artifacts and pictures of us working together. So you can see there's a picture in the top left corner of her working on Elkonin sound boxes, and it has the book next to her. I think the word we were working on was probably the word fat. And so I had little squares that had the sounds on them. And then I also provided her with this book or the story that we had been using, and to kind of put it in that context of what fat was, looking at the fish on that book. The one next to it is a picture of her working with the sentences. And then the last picture, it says ocean or the ocean. She actually traced with using like a tracing program the words the ocean, and then created this art project using tissue paper and cutting out different animals, and then had to sort between animals that lived in the ocean and animals that didn't live in the ocean to figure out which ones belonged in the ocean. She put them in her ocean. Below that, there's a picture of her name written in Play-Doh. So these were letters that she manipulated out of clay to spell her name. There's a picture of her reading, and then on the last picture, it's a picture of her foot, which I, along with traced words in, at, and foot, and these were all part of the foot book lesson that I wrote for her, and this was all part of the Making Connections comprehension strategy for guided reading that we worked on this past week. So our big connection that I wanted her to make was all about her feet and how her feet have some of the same qualities, or she can connect some of the same qualities that she has with the characters in the Dr. Seuss book. And then these were the words that we focused on